I love it when you send me questions, and I've been asked a question about compote bowls and what are they. And for the purposes of flower arranging, it's pretty much any elevated dish. Hello there, I'm Julie from Julie Davis Flower Workshops and Flower Start, the online flower arranging classes. Now I've got a few examples here of what I think could be used as compote bowls, and if you're interested, do watch on to the end of the video and I'll choose one of the containers and make my own foam-free arrangement. Now you'll spot that the flowers I'm going to use are the same as the ones that I featured in my January Blues video. So do check back on that video too and you'll see how much my tulips have grown over the intervening period. It is only though a week between me filming that video and this one. I would describe a compote bowl as one that has a circular base, a stem and then a bulbous part in which to put your flowers. This is quite a squat version. Now perhaps you are an expert in compote dishes, so I'd love to hear what your definition is of a compote bowl. Let me know in the comments. I bought this dish from a garden centre in Belgium when we went across last September to look at the Fleuramour Flower Festival, so if you're interested in checking out my weekend away, I'll leave a link to the 2 videos I filmed over that weekend so you can join in the fun with me. And another dish here, this was given to me by one of my friends at Flower Club, and it's actually a glass bowl which has been spray painted black. So again, it's got the round base, a narrow stem and then the bulbous part for your flowers. And is this a compote bowl or more of a cake plate? Actually, it's totally impractical as a cake plate because it hasn't got a flat stand. And also I've found over the years, it's a bit impractical for flower arranging too. This is too shallow to go foam free. There isn't enough of a well inside the bowl to hide the mechanics of your pin holder or your scrunched up chicken wire. And I found that when I was using it with flower foam, I could never secure the tape firmly enough at the edge of the container. It's a pressed glass bowl and there's just too much texture on the sides. And I'm just thinking perhaps the time has come when I need to pass this on if it isn't going to be of any use to me anymore. I could use it as a fruit bowl though, or perhaps if I was having afternoon tea, I could put little cupcakes in it, repurpose it for something else. Now, is this a compote bowl? I would say this is a classic urn shape, and for me the little stand here is too short and too fat. But my one word of advice is don't get hung up on descriptions of what is or what isn't the right container. Use the container that you've got that pleases you, that goes well in your home and you know you can arrange flowers in. This one has got a deep recess inside, so I definitely know I can go foam free. I can scrunch up my chicken wire and then tape it quite securely on the smooth underside of the container. A bit more modern here, this is a pottery piece and actually I've broken it and it came apart in 2 pieces and I've hot glued it together. It's got a little bit of wear and tear as well, but this is a bowl that I quite often feature in my Christmas flower arranging classes. I just turn the chip to the back so nobody notices. But would you think that would be a compote bowl? It's certainly got the definition of a round base and a narrow stem and then the more bulbous part at the top. I'm not sure whether to hang on to this bowl or not. I'm not sure the colour is quite right for me anymore, so I'll have to have a think about that. Mind you, you know what I say, one in, one out. I've just got a new bowl and I think it might be a replacement for this one. I was lucky enough to be gifted this by a friend. She was turning out her flower arranging cupboard and offered me this dish. So again, it's got a round base but no flat-footed plate to it, a narrow stem and then the open bowl at the top, and this one's got a little glazed finish inside. In actual fact the hole goes right the way down to the bottom, so it would be the perfect vase for a small hand-tied bouquet. And rather interesting enough, I've got 2 other containers in exactly the same sort of mid-century modern finish, slightly textured and worn. So I set out to help you to decide what was a compote dish. What do you reckon? In my mind, I think probably these are raised footed containers. They haven't quite got the elegance of something we might commonly known as a compote bowl. And in fact, if you go back to my thrifting video when I went for a day out in Birchington here in Kent with my friends, you'll see a really lovely compote bowl. And that was the one that was made out of, and that was the one that I turned over to look at the etching on the bottom, and it said it was Edinburgh crystal. It was really elegant, a little flat plate and much narrower stem and a very, very shallow bowl. You certainly couldn't have gone foam free with it, and that's the reason why I left it there in the shop. I'm trying to go foam free, but if you're still happy to use up your surplus supplies of flour foam, it would have been a perfect dish. And of course, your compote dish isn't just for flour arranging. It's really handy, rather than keeping all your containers packed away in a cupboard waiting to be used, if you can use them for another purpose in between flour arrangements. So you can imagine I might have fruit in this bowl, cakes and biscuits in this bowl, and perhaps even loose change and keys in this bowl. Now the big next question I've got is, which of the bowls shall I use to arrange in? Now, I'm going to go, I think, for my new bowl from Belgium, because I've not used that yet. So I'm going to scrunch up some chicken wire, think about whether I need to have a pin holder too, and I'm going to get my week-old Freddy's flowers and arrange my flowers in a classic foam-free style. I normally arrange my flowers in the kitchen, but I've put the dishwasher on and it's got another 90 minutes to run, so I'm out here in the garden, in the crisp and the cool. And do you see what I mean about those tulips? They continue growing in your vase and they also move towards the light. It's quite possible though that when I remake this vase of flowers in my little compote dish, that the delicate tulips may well not survive. I probably won't do much talking as I arrange my flowers and just take a moment to be in the moment. It's quite chilly here, the sun is just coming out, and I don't know whether you can pick up on the microphone the birds that are tweeting. So I've got my compote dish, some water, which I'll use later, and some of my chicken wire. So what I tend to do with my chicken wire is, once I've used it, I put it in my washing up bowl, and next to my boiler kettle, the excess water, I just swill it over just to kill off any bugs. So scrunch it down, not too tightly, otherwise you'll end up with such a dense ball you won't have any room for your stems. What I'm doing here is putting the chicken wire into the body of the bowl, but also letting it rise up in a little dome as well. Then use my clear pot tape, and if you're interested in sourcing your own, I'll leave a link to that in the show notes underneath the video, to hold that in place, and then I will fill the container with water. So very carefully taking my flowers out of the vase and seeing what I can reuse. So I've got my eryngium thistles, a little bit of the eucalyptus, I think that's parvifolia, some twisted hazel stems, the lovely tulips that have grown over time, very delicate. I might put those back in the vase while I'm working so they don't get knocked. And then the huge bloom chrysanthemums, and these came with a little protective net heads, so it doesn't take long for them to open out. I'm going to separate my pile like with like, and then I'll know what I've got. And the snapdragons, so they were really floppy when I first put them in my vase a week ago, but within half an hour they'd started to perk up, so they're still looking really good. I like to take my greenery first and create a little outline of where I'm going, so recut the stems, and it may well be that the greenery won't hold in place just yet because it might be a little bit too floppy, but the more stems I put in, the more it will hold. Winding it through the chicken wire. And a lighter piece, a less bushy piece out at the side there. And some shorter bits of eucalyptus. I'm going to take off the lower leaves so they don't fall into the water. It's just to start to cover up the mechanics. So a little bit of green. And the next thing I'm going to do is to put in my really big chrysanthemum blooms. We've got quite, well, comparatively chunky stems, and I want to make sure that can sit in the vase before I put too many other stems in. So that was going to be the front for me. And these are very large in relation to the size of the container. One out to the side. And perhaps this one over here. Should we be daring and go a little bit longer? So that's the front of the arrangement facing you. Twist it round so I can see what I'm doing now. Let's go in with those snapdragons next. Oh, one of them's got a bit more of a curl on it. I might use that to try and come up a little bit higher. Wiggle it down till it locks in place. And out to the other side. One to the front. And fill in a little bit with my Eryngium thistles. And dare I have a go with the tulips. Few pieces at the back just to cover up the rest of the chicken wire. Well, that's going to be against the wall, so it's not really going to show. And there's my finished arrangement, looking rather elegant against the pale walls of my bedroom. Now I'm just looking at the arrangement, left-hand side, 2 tulip heads quite close together. And too much stem showing here, so I might just nip downstairs with my scissors, shorten the length of that first tulip, just to bring a bit more of that colour towards the centre of the vase. This is the problem area here. I can just see too much green. Now, is everything going to fall apart? Measure up. I want that flower head to be about there. So I can get away with cutting it much shorter. Wiggle that back into position. How does that look? I'm rather pleased with how that finished arrangement turned out, and what I really like about this was I took a bunch of flowers, which was really a cut and plonk from my regular flower delivery, and then made it into something that was much more unique. And you'll find this with your own flowers. Perhaps keep them long for the first few days and cut them short a few days later and create something really different. And if you'd like to know how to get the best out of your flowers, don't forget to check out my short video course I've got in the shop section of my website, and I'll leave a link to that in the notes underneath the video. So don't forget to look out for some compote bowls next time you're in the charity shop, or perhaps you've got something at home that you could repurpose. They're a really great little dish to have in your arsenal of vases, and the main reason is it just elevates your arrangement a little bit and makes it look all the more elegant and beautiful. If you've enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, don't forget to push the button that says subscribe on it. And if you check out the notes in the description under the video, you'll also see there's an opportunity to buy me a coffee if you fancy contributing towards my fund. It helps support the channel and means I can buy more flowers and show you what to do with them. That's all from me for now, and I'll see you again next time.